and click on it, and then it will allow you to put something in the Q&A. It should add it to the bar at the bottom or the top. It wasn't mine the other day. So yeah, have a look, and that's in there. We have got a full agenda, so we may not get to your questions, but we will have a look at them following the session and send out, a summary if appropriate if there's things in there we didn't cover in the session. CIWEM will do that for us via Kirsten, who is our brilliant technical support behind the scenes today. Okay, so the session is being recorded. Hope you're aware of that. As I said, please use the Q&A function if you think of any questions, and do play with that view option to get the best option that you can see. So Mary, click on our next slide. As I mentioned to those of you that, as you were joining, this is the CIWEM workshop webinar number 4, I think we are, communicating with impact. And that's what we'll be doing today across a range of hosts. On our next slide, you will see who we are. So I'm Sam Maddox. I'm the commercial lead at JBA Consulting. We're part of JBA Group. There's about 800 of us leading society's pursuit for climate change resilience, focusing on all things water and sustainability and beyond. Personally, my aim as commercial lead is to empower our people and our clients by providing sound commercial advice all the way from bidding frameworks, getting into the right contract, having the right risk allocation, through to sorting out the disputes where it doesn't work so well, and also through a lot of training, coaching and mentoring, including being a Women in FCERM mentor. And the ladies presenting with me today are from my mentoring group, and that's how this came about. Over to you, Antonia.
Oh, yes. So I'm Antonia MacDonald. I work in the National Flood Hydrology team at the Environment Agency, but I'm here today with a different hat on because I'm a member of the Women in FCERM Committee as a comms, communication and engagement co-lead. So the Women in FCERM Committee are a group of volunteers who manage the network with an aim to connect, support and empower women across the flood and coastal erosion risk management sector, hence the acronym. And that's across a range of topics, including networking, corporate affiliation, awards, and mentoring. So our mentoring program brings together mentors with small groups of mentees who want to learn, develop, and make real progress towards their professional and personal goals. So each mentoring group focuses on the topics women have told us matter most to them. And that ranges from personal effectiveness to career progression to achieving a healthy work-life balance. And participants come from a wide range of organisations, as you can see today, creating a mix of experiences and perspectives for those mentoring sessions. Since launching in 2019, our mentoring program has supported over 700 women from over 30 different organisations. And this group you see today is one fantastic example from our 2025 to 26 program. It's really great to see such a tangible output of learning and development. Our 26 to 27 program has already begun, but we do run additional learning and development sessions throughout the year, which are open to all. And I'll share a link at the end of the session for how you can still get involved with the network. And that's me. So I'll pass on to Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm a Sustainable Water Management Technical Officer at the North Kent Marshes Water Level Management Board. So as an organisation, we're a public body formerly known as an internal drainage board that manages water, flood risk and environmental protection for water courses in lowland areas in Kent. So my role in particular, I deal with the environmental side of the business, with everything from environmental policy to priority species surveys and community engagements with farmers to enhance habitats in North Kent. Over to Freya.
Hello everyone, my name is Freya Navad and I work as an advisor in the National Asset Management Business Systems team at the Environment Agency. I work with operations and FCRM colleagues to develop improvements for our national asset management IT systems. I support users with the Fast Draft Contract Management System and the A-Site BIM2 Document Management System, providing technical support, implementing continuous improvements and improving system guidance to help better the user experience. I was a part of the Women in FCRM mentoring program for the previous 3 years in various groups titled Early Career Professionals, How to Get Ahead in Your Career. And I found this to be a really rewarding experience. I'll hand over to Mary to introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Mary Conway and I'm an assistant flood risk consultant at WSP. I sit in the fluvial and pluvial modelling team. So my work involves hydraulic modelling, which is typically modelling rivers to assess the impact that proposed schemes will have on them in terms of flooding and assess the best options for ensuring that these schemes don't worsen flooding. I also work in a bit of hydrology and water resources, which can involve calculating the inflows to hydraulic models and also the planning and management of water to ensure there's enough water of the right quality in the right place at the right time for people in the environment. So I joined the Women in FCERM programme last year with the goal of developing my confidence in my work and also in my networking and presenting. And I would really recommend it to anyone who's looking to get involved. Okay, so to start, I just wanted to set out what we're hoping you'll all take away from this session. So firstly, we want to give you some simple and effective networking tools that you can start using straight away. Nothing complicated, just practical things that you can apply immediately in your day-to-day conversations. Secondly, we're aiming to help you build a stronger ability to communicate with impact. So not just what you say, but how you say it and how that comes across to others. And finally, we really want to encourage you to take opportunities and say yes. A lot of networking confidence comes from putting yourself out there, even when it feels a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm sure if you had told myself, Jen, or Freya this time last year that we would be presenting this webinar today, we wouldn't have believed you. But this was a great opportunity that we felt we couldn't pass up. And as a result, speaking for myself, my confidence has definitely been boosted. But overall, this webinar is about giving you a few practical tools, a little bit of confidence, and hopefully a mindset shift that makes networking feel more approachable. So this leads me nicely onto our first poll. So hopefully, if this all goes to plan, you'll get a little Zoom poll popping up on your screen asking you how confident you feel networking on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being very uncomfortable and 10 being very confident. So if you could have a little think and click which answer applies. Oh, I see them coming in now. We'll just wait for the results to come through for a few seconds. Okay, that's great. I think everybody's more or less answered. I'll just, oh, is that sharing the result okay? I think it is. Okay, perfect. So as we can see from this, there's quite a range of results, but that's great. That's what we were wanting to show, because it's clear that we're all different at different points in terms of confidence when networking. But the great news is confidence grows with practice and everybody can improve. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, you might be feeling a little bit higher on the scale, even if it's only by 1 or 2 points. I'm now going to pass you on to Jen.
Hi everyone. So in this section, I'll be focusing on network planning for big events like Flood and Coast. So when you go to something like Flood and Coast, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed. It's a really big venue. There are loads of sessions going on and there's lots of people. So what I want to focus on is how a simple bit of pre-planning can help you get the most out of it, especially from a networking perspective. So a great thing that you can do before you even look at the agenda, it's worth asking yourself 3 simple questions. So, what do you want to get out of this? What do I want to learn? And who do I want to meet? So depending on sort of who you are, your organizations, this could look like a range of things. So it could be meeting colleagues from other departments if you're from a big organization. You might want to be speaking to suppliers or consultants, or you could be going to be learning about a specific topic like modeling or nature-based solutions. So having those objectives in mind gives you a clear reason to approach people when you're set up in either one of those scenarios. So that way, networking can feel much less just like walking up and giving it a go, and more like, I've got purpose for this conversation. So that naturally helps you build that confidence when you're communicating and trying to network. So next, an important thing to do is use the agenda strategically once you've identified those objectives. So Flood and Coast and a lot of other big conferences release their agenda a few months in advance. So go through it early. And this way you can identify your key talks you want to go to, any sort of workshops that you're interested in, and then make sure you note any clashes because there will be some. From a networking point of view, this can help you in two ways. So firstly, it puts you in the right rooms. That way you're talking to the people in the same sort of environment and interests for you. And that way you've already got things in common. Secondly, it gives you those natural conversation starters. So having a plan means you're making these choices. You can go up to someone with simple starters like, what do you think of this session? And, you're working on any projects that are similar. And that way you don't feel like you're missing out on any of these opportunities. This can help you stay more relaxed. And that way you're more open to talking to people and approaching them. The other big factor, which I think can make a big difference for your confidence and any sort of networking plans, is knowing the venue layout. So Flood and Coast is spread across multiple rooms. And if you don't know where you're going, it's quite easy to feel rushed and sort of very flustered, which isn't the best mindset, especially when you're trying to communicate and network. So this is where sort of a brochure or the event app can come in. And there's usually a map to help you with that. So now you know where your sessions are in advance, you can understand sort of how long it takes to move from one area to another, and you can also group activities within the same area to make the most use out of your time. So this way, you're not rushing around or second guessing where to go. This way, if you've got time to stay after a session for a chat, you're able to reach out to someone, or you can stop at one of the exhibition stands. And that's sometimes where the best networking happens, but it happens naturally when you're just there. The last thing I want to mention in this section is that the app isn't just for navigation. So it does help you plan your day and spot the networking opportunities. So on the screen, I provided a couple of screenshots from the app currently, and you're able to build your own schedules. You can look at side events and you can see who's attending and also exhibiting. So you can find the agenda under the What's On program banner or under the smaller schedule icon above, just in that first screenshot there. And then when viewing the list, you'll also see a little plus next to each of the sessions on the app. So once you've clicked on this, this will create a personalized schedule available to view in the My Schedule tab. And then you're able to refer to any of the sessions you've earmarked. So that's there on the right. And you're also able to see the speakers of the events and any sort of attendees' names if they've chosen to share that with the app. And you're able to really easily connect with people that you meet on the day. So this makes it easier to be intentional with any sort of work networking, whether that's planning to speak to specific organizations or being in the right room with the same sort of people. It's also worth keeping an eye out for any sort of dedicated networking events. So, for example, there are early career sessions or there are special interest groups like Women in FCERM, as these can be a much more relaxed way to meet people. So overall, a bit of pre-planning isn't just about the logistics of it, it's also about giving you the confidence. Be clear on your objectives for going and use the agenda and attendees list to put you in those right conversations. And also remember that the layout and the app can help keep things running really smoothly. You won't be able to do everything because there's so much going on, but with a plan, networking can feel much more natural and you'll be able to get much more out of that experience for you. Now over to Freya, who will be able to talk through some other networking opportunities.
Perfect. So Jen's given us a great example there of planning a networking event. But if you don't have the opportunity to attend Flood and Coast Conference or similar such events this year, then there really are networking opportunities all around you. It doesn't have to just be these big organised external conferences and big events, as great as they are. There's lots of other opportunities if you don't have those. So for me, one of the most valuable networking opportunities that I've had was in my previous role. I worked in a local FCRM area team. I had the opportunity to attend biannual community days, which would see the whole of our community from across the country get together for a mixture of presentations, knowledge sharing, and networking sessions. There was always a big variety of different people there with different career experiences and backgrounds, and it always felt like a very safe space to meet people, especially because we always had the common ground that we all worked in the same field. As well as that, I would definitely encourage you all to think about smaller, more everyday networking opportunities. So these can be in-person or virtual opportunities, local events, or like I mentioned, maybe an internal conference. So even if the only opportunity that you have is speaking to a few more people in your local office, I'd really encourage you to do this because it can still be really valuable and help you to build a larger network of contacts and learn more about the organisation and industry that you work in. So we're now going to have a quick exercise to think about networking opportunities that you might have coming up and your purpose for attending these. So I'll hand over to Mary to introduce that.
Okay, cool. So hopefully you should have a Slido QR code on your screen. Brill. If you've got your phone handy, if you can scan the QR code, it will take you straight to the question. And I want you to have a think of an upcoming networking event, and what your purpose might be for attending that. If you don't have your phone, you can go to slido.com on your laptop and type in the code that's on the screen. But if you answer in 1 to 3 words, maybe, so it doesn't have to be anything like a massive sentence. We just kind of want those buzzwords. But I'll give you a couple minutes just to have a little think about that. Nice, okay, we've got some coming through now. Yeah, lots about learning, that's good, and meeting other people, building networks. See, somebody's off to the future of railway, that sounds exciting. Okay, cool. So I think, well, the main one coming out of this is learning, which is great, and lots about connecting and building network. But as you can see, we've got a mix of responses. So from this exercise, we kind of wanted to display that everybody has their own reason for being in the room, and having that clear purpose can make networking feel much more focused and far less daunting. It also shows networking isn't just about selling yourself. It can be about listening and learning, as we have our main theme, and also making those meaningful connections. So as we go through the session, I'd encourage you to keep your own purpose in mind, because having that clarity is a really powerful starting point for building confidence and communicating in an impactful way. But great, thank you so much for taking part in that. I'm going to pass on now to, I think it's Jen.
Back to me.
That's
No,
Freya, sorry.
okay. Yeah, that's fine. So one thing that you can do to prepare for a networking event is to come up with a lift speech, which you can use to introduce yourself. So as you can see on the slide, we found that in our group, we were all flood risk management officers or similar. But if you look at our job titles around the edge of the spider diagram, then what that actually meant for us was very different. So you can tell someone your job title when you're introducing yourself, but there's a very high chance that that won't actually mean much to them or really explain what you do. So we took some time to write, practice, and refine our lift speeches so that we could quickly and efficiently introduce ourselves professionally, particularly when we were talking to more senior colleagues. So if I can have the next slide, please, Mary.
Sorry, I've got far too many screens
You're
on the
fine.
computer. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So we found that a lift speech is a great way to start a conversation, and it gives you an opportunity to share a small background about yourself and explain what you do without just sharing your job title or sharing your whole background. So a good lift speech should be clear, concise, and compelling, setting out your purpose for networking and why you're introducing yourself. You should aim for 60 seconds in length, keeping it simple and easy to understand. Also, avoid using any technical jargon or acronyms unless you're completely clear that your audience will understand them and what they mean. Next slide, please. Thank you. So you should use your lift speech to introduce yourself. You're telling the person you're speaking to who you are, what your role is, and which organisation you work for. You can then go into more detail about what your role entails. So any key people or groups that you may work with and any other key information relevant to the person you're speaking to, or even anything that you're keen to get out of the conversation. So as I introduced myself at the start of the call, my name is Freya and I work as an advisor in the National Asset Management Business Systems team at the Environment Agency. So that's my introduction using my name, job title and company. I work with operations and FCERM colleagues to develop improvements for our national asset management IT systems. I support users with the Fast Draft Contract Management System and the A-Site BIM2 Document Management System, providing technical support, implementing continuous improvements, and improving system guidance to help better the user experience. So that was me telling you what I actually do and who I work with. And I then went on to say that I was a part of the Women in FCRM mentoring program for the previous 3 years. And I was in various groups titled Early Career Professionals, How to Get Ahead in Your Career, which I found to be a really rewarding experience. So that was me providing any other information that is relevant to this audience, as this webinar is being run as a culmination of our previous year on the Women in FCRM mentoring program. So that's an example of how I use those components to build my lift speech. But it's also important to consider how you can adapt what you're saying to fit your audience, something that I'm going to hand over to Jen to talk us through now.
Thanks for that, Freya. So once you've got your lift speech, the key thing is to remember that it isn't fixed. It should be adaptable depending on who you're speaking to. So the way I like to think about it is, who am I talking to? What's the in for the conversation? And how much time do I have? So the in might be a shared interest, it could be a project, or just something relevant to what they do. So I found it a bit challenging with quite a broad title to begin with. So when I first tried to figure out my own lift speech, I actually started by writing absolutely everything down, just a complete brain dump of what I do day to day, types of project I'm involved in, any tools or software that I use, whether I'm working with stakeholders, surveying, focusing on any sort of specific areas. So it was just a really messy A4 page of everything. And you can always start broad. So you can start by saying you work in the water sector, you're involved in the environment sector, but then make sure you narrow it down to what that actually looks like in practice. So that really helps you to understand what parts of your role you can pull out depending on the situation. And then once you've figured out your basic structure, like with the examples before, this is where the adaptability comes in. So depending on who you're speaking to, you might keep it quite high level if the person you're talking to isn't familiar with your organization, or if there's someone or they're aware of your projects, you can get it a bit more technical. You might also want to focus on a specific project if it's relevant to them in the conversation, or keep it really quick, really brief if you've only got a quick moment. Sometimes lift speeches end up being a 30-second snapshot, and sometimes it's part of a larger conversation, but both are completely fine. Ultimately, it's not really down to having one perfect script. It's more about having these few key points you can bounce between and flex depending on how the conversation's going. That way, it feels much more natural. You're not worried about remembering a script, and it's much easier to connect with a whole range of different people. If you can go on to the next slide now, please. So now we want you to have a go writing and practicing your own lift speech. So nobody panic. After I finish this explanation, you will be whisked away in pairs to prepare and practice your own lift speech in breakout rooms. So you're going to have 10 minutes overall. You've got 2 minutes to prepare, and figure out what your job is and what you're going to tell other people. And remember, this doesn't have to be perfect. Please don't stress. This is just supposed to be a lighthearted exercise for you to start and then think about later on. Then you'll have 2 minutes to share your lift speech and 2 minutes to receive feedback from the other person before swapping over. When you're in your breakout rooms, you're going to have a 5-minute reminder halfway through, and then a 1-minute reminder will pop up just to keep everybody on track. So I think you'll slowly start being whisked away now, and I'll just mention before any of those watching say the recording back later, please pause the recording now and have a go at the exercise. Thank you.
Okay, is that everyone back from breakout rooms? Do we think?
There's a few people still waiting to come back.
Okay. Right, okay, I think we might be good to go now. So welcome back from your breakout rooms. I hope you had fun practicing your lift speeches, and hopefully you now kind of have an idea what it is that you will say when you introduce yourself. So we're going to focus now on kind of how you present yourself when networking or presenting something. So on the slide, we've got a well-known breakdown of communication, and it's a really useful one to keep in mind when we think about networking. Is anybody feeling brave enough to guess what each section of the chart represents? You're welcome just to pop something in the chat, or you can have a little go at speaking. No worries if you haven't got a clue, that's fine, because we will be revealing. Okay, it's fine. Everybody's feeling maybe a little bit shy, but that's okay. So what this is showing is that only... Oh no, I think maybe my...
You've got an answer in the chat.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
I also think my animations aren't working.
Boo.
Oh, yeah, it's a big boo. Okay, yeah. So body, tone, and words. The 7% shown on the side. Oh my goodness. There we go. It's all going disastrous.
Well,
Here
Mary
we go.
Carey's got the body language one right.
Yeah.
We've obviously seen this before, haven't they?
So that's it. Yeah. So 55% of our communication comes from our body language, which is over half. And then 38% is from our tone of voice. And only 7% of communication actually comes from the words that we use. So it's really emphasizing it's not just what we say, but it's how we say it and how we come across overall. And I'm very sorry that my animations aren't working, but anyway, we'll move on. So there are a few key things that can make a big difference. Firstly, confident posture. So if you have a little think about how you're sitting right now, are you slouched? I normally am when I'm watching things like this. But does that make you feel or appear super self-assured and confident? Probably not. So standing or sitting upright can instantly make you appear more self-assured, even if you don't fully feel it. And in a networking situation, you want to look self-assured, confident, and approachable so that you can make those connections that you're in the room to make. And secondly, we've got eye contact. So this helps build connection and shows that you're engaged and interested in the conversation. Typically, when you're having a conversation and somebody isn't really looking at you, I find that my mind tends to wander, and I do clock out of the conversation. So what we want to try and do is keep our audience engaged. So eye contact, smiling, and projecting our voice are really great tips to remember. This can be a little bit more difficult online if you're presenting something. So in this situation, But if you try and look at the camera, it simulates eye contact and it helps the audience feel more engaged. Thirdly, we've got open body language. So things like keeping your arms uncrossed and facing the person you're speaking can make you seem more approachable and confident. If I was sat here delivering this presentation to you with my arms crossed and speaking into my lap, I doubt many of you would feel very engaged, like I'm hoping you are just now. But what we want to aim for effectively is that top illustration. So the person is confident, smiling, engaging their audience, and they have open body language. Unlike the illustration at the bottom where the person looks a little bit angry and the audience doesn't look at all interested in what they're saying. So all of these are small, simple adjustments, but together they have a big impact. And as we touched on earlier, your body language often speaks louder than your words, making up 55% of all your communication, so all the message that comes across. So even small changes here can really boost how confident you come across when networking or in a presenting situation. Okay, so next, know your audience. When we're networking, it's not just about what we want to say, it's about who we're speaking to. So that means adapting your message depending on the person or group you're engaging with. So as Jen mentioned, we can tailor our lift speeches to specific audiences. The way you introduce yourself to someone in your immediate team might be very different to how you speak to someone from a completely different organization or sector. And that's likely because somebody in your team, I would hope, knows like what you do on a day-to-day basis, many of the acronyms that you use in your job role titles, where someone from a different organization or sector probably won't have a clue what you're talking about. So the second point on the screen, addressing different parts of the audience, is more in terms of presenting, but it can apply when speaking to a group of people, when you're networking. So don't just focus on one person, look around the room or group and engage everyone. This makes the audience feel included, and as a result, they remain engaged. A little top tip as well for when you're presenting, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable to look people directly in the eye. So if you gaze just above the eyes, that way they still feel like you're looking at them and engaging with them, but it does remove that potential awkwardness of singling somebody out in the audience by looking them directly in the eye. But ultimately, being a little bit more intentional with your audience can make your networking feel more natural, and it can have a much bigger impact. And finally, remember to keep calm. So for this, preparation is key, and we can split it into 3 stages. So starting with practice and feedback, this is kind of like the long-term preparation, so it can be done a few weeks in advance, or a continual preparation for these events. So taking the time to practice how you introduce yourself or start conversations and getting feedback from others, it can make a big difference. Even small tweaks can help you sound more natural and feel more prepared. And also remembering to practice in front of different audiences. So your friends who maybe don't work in the same sector as you, or in front of your team. I know a lot of my confidence building has come from my Monday morning team meetings, where we've taken it in turns each week to present top tips. And we can even have chances to practice presentations that we're going to be undertaking later on in the week or like coming weeks. And it's been really useful to receive some feedback from my team and them. So then we're moving on to some on-the-day preparation. You want to set yourself up well for the event. So wearing something comfortable is quite a simple tip, but networking can be quite draining activity, and we don't want to be stood there thinking about how tight or uncomfortable our clothing is or how sore our new shoes are on our feet. So just wearing sensible clothing so that your mind can be completely focused on the task at hand. Another one, arriving early so that you're not flustered. This also gives you the chance to find somewhere where you might be able to do your power pose. Now, I am sure most of you have heard of a power pose, but this is a really useful tool for getting you in the right mindset before you walk into a networking situation. So you want to find yourself somewhere quiet. It could be in the bathroom, in front of the mirror, or just in a cubicle if you'd prefer the privacy. But you need to get in the position where you stood upright with your shoulders back. You want your legs in a wide V and your elbows bent, like the people on the slide are kindly demonstrating. And hands firmly at your hips. And then if you stand there for about 2 minutes, hopefully it will start to reduce the nervousness you're feeling and make you feel that bit more confident. But it has been proven to work. So this is a great thing to do right before an event, as our main aim is to reduce stress as much as possible and boost our confidence. Then finally, in the moment, this is where everything comes together, and some really simple but powerful reminders here. Firstly, breathe. So we want to be breathing in the way that we would punctuate a sentence when writing. So whenever you would put a comma or a full stop, take a breath. Nobody's going to notice if you're speaking a little bit slower than normal, but they are going to notice if you're speaking super fast because they won't be able to keep up. Next, remember not to apologize. It's completely normal to stumble or trip up on our words, but just carry on. You're the only person that knows what it is that's in your lift speech. So if you miss a word or if you mix things up, nobody knows it's gone wrong other than you. So if you don't draw attention to it, then you can just act as if it's like completely fine, all gone to plan, and tends to make, I find that when I draw attention to mistakes I've made, I get more flustered. So don't apologize, just carry on. And finally, try not to fidget. This can be very distracting. If you're like me and you like to fiddle with your rings, take them off in networking events. I've been in a situation where I flung one across the room before, and it's a little bit embarrassing when you have to go and pick it up. So now I just tend to remove them in networking situations just to avoid that. Another one, so for presenting, if you're presenting online, you can sit on your hands. And if you're standing up in a room, you can use your hands to present. You can also do that online as well, but it's a little bit easier when you're stood up in front of people. But it just removes that temptation of fidgeting with things. And finally, also, if you've got long hair and tend to fiddle with it, then tie it up, get it out your face, and just remove that temptation. But it is perfectly normal to fidget, especially when nervous. This is why practicing and getting feedback is so important, as we become aware of the things that we do that can be distracting, and we can try and find an alternative outlet for that fidgety energy. But basically, what I'm trying to say is building confidence isn't one big step. It's lots of small, manageable actions before and during interactions that really add up. So I am going to pass you back to Freya now, and this will be our second Zoom poll.
Yes, so as we did at the start, we're going to repeat answering the question, how confident do you feel in networking on a scale of 1 to 10? So if you could all put your answers into the poll on the slide, that would be great. I'll just give it a few more seconds to see if we get anyone else. No, that looks like all we have got today. Yeah, so that's really great to see, actually. So there's a clear shift in a higher percentage of people going for higher numbers and being more confident. We're not obviously just expecting you to have gained confidence in the last 50 minutes, but hopefully if you can take these tools that we've been talking about away, that'll help you to feel even more confident in the networking situation. So yeah, that was great. I'm now going to hand over to Sam to talk about top tips that we can take away from today.
So first, before we share what we think our top tips were, we thought it would be interesting to see what you all thought from today, and what thing, however small it may be, you have picked up that you will take forward. So again, you will need a phone or equivalent device so that you can join the poll and add something in, and then we'll get a word cloud as you get some responses. So as we said before, if you can add something in, a few words. Oh, it's just giving us a list this time. Well, there you go. Just goes to show technology is not always our friend. Take rings off. Yeah, that's great, isn't it? I hope you found the ring. Did you find the ring, Mary? I mean, this is the...
Yes, all rings intact. I do it quite a lot, so.
Oh, fair enough. Right. You got yourself an elastic so you could just yeah, pull them back in. We've got 11 responses so far. There's another few people typing. It's good to see most of you at least have something you've taken away from it. So that's good. Thank you for staying engaged. Oh, Lord, now I can't see the top of it. That me, Mary, did that. Now, if you go back to the Slido a sec, I think we had a few things about confidence and not, yeah, the fiddly things. That's a great example. Planning the day, brilliant. Practicing, yes, absolutely. So, oh, we've got someone typing away there. Yeah, do all the research for your event. Makes such a difference. Networking, you know, people think it's just going up talking to people, but there is a lot more to it if you want to make the most from it. Next slide, thanks, Mary. So our top tips I'd like to leave you with. I frame them under purpose, pros, and presence. It's easier to remember, 3 Ps. And as you'll see, a lot of it is in the preparation. We're hoping that you've got that from today. So look at your purpose. What is it you're going for? Who is it you want to interact with? Look at your pros. So your lift speech, having a look at what the hook or the in, as Jennifer told us, is going to be into that speech. What is it you want to connect with them over? And then when you're in the moment, as Mary told us, remember to breathe and be calm and confident. So think both physically and mentally. You know, what's the worst that can happen? You lose your ring, it turns out. Who knew? So they're the things that we're hoping you can take away. I'm just going to hand you back to Antonia so you could see how you can follow up if you are lucky enough to be going to the Flood and Coast Conference.
You're on mute, Antonia.
Is that working now?
Yes, yeah, that's fine.
Back in the room.
It's my headset, I think, is the problem sometimes. Cool. Yes. So I just wanted to share some information about how you can engage with us at the conference if you're coming along, and also how you can stay involved with the network if you're more interested more generally. So we'll be at stand C14 in the exhibition hall. So whether you're already part of our community or keen to learn more, please do come along and say hello. We'd love to meet you. Then a key highlight of Flood and Coast for us is our networking event, which will take place on the Tuesday, the 9th of June, starting at 5:15 p.m. And that's kindly sponsored by the Environment Agency and hosted by our co-chairs, Amy Shaw, who is the lead for Women in FCERM, and Mark Garrett, who's the Deputy Director at the Environment Agency. And that's under the theme of attracting and retaining women in the FCERM sector. So that will bring together perspectives from across the industry and will offer an opportunity for meaningful discussion and collaboration. It's open to all, regardless of gender, and also regardless of conference tickets. So the free exhibition hall only pass still allows you to attend this event. So worth looking up, even if you aren't attending the full conference, you can still come to our networking event with the free hall pass. So yes, that and the stand will both provide good opportunities to put into practice any of today's tips. Also part of the Flood and Coast Awards dinner on Wednesday, the 10th of June, where we present our awards, which recognise the outstanding contributions, achievements and leadership of individuals and organisations across the sector. And we are proud to celebrate people driving positive change in our industry. So yes, overall, it promises to be a really inspiring and impactful event. Super proud to play an active role throughout as a committee, but we're also so proud of such fantastic mentoring groups like the women you've heard from today. So a huge thank you to them for being so committed and inspiring. So if you're interested in learning more about Women in FCERM, our mentoring programme, our presence at Flood and Coast, and all the other things we do throughout the year, there's a link on the screen. You can go to our website, womeninfcerm.co.uk. We're also very active on LinkedIn. I'll just pass back to Sam now to wrap up the final webinar basis.
Great, thank you, Antonia. So quite a lot of opportunities there to get involved. And Kirsten, thank you, has put that link in the chat because you can't link to it from the screen. So we do have a couple of minutes, although I have not seen any questions come in. Feel free to put them in the chat if you can't find the Q&A button. It's all gone quiet. Everyone needs to eat things. But if you do think of anything else, I'm sure you can get in touch with FCERM or find Antonia or someone in Women in FCERM, and we'll be happy to come back to you. Thank you very much for your time and engagement, and have fun practicing your tools.